What's going on, everybody? Today, I want to talk about a subject that I'm going to continue to bring up, and it's why I collect low-grade cards. I don't need 7s and 8s. Honestly, when I've gotten good deals on 7s and 8s, I usually sell them so I can buy 2s and 3s and 4s. And I have some 6s if we start talking about some cards, but most of my stuff is fairly low grade. Why? There are a lot of reasons why. There are a lot of reasons why I collect low grade cards. For one, the tougher grading standards that are clearly happening mean that those low grade cards are a lot of times pretty nice. Even a 2 or a 3 at times are really nice cards. They're the 5s of a few years ago. Number 2, I want a card that looks good. The grade doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. The thing that matters is, does it suit my eye? Because I'm the collector. I'm the person who's going to buy it and look at it all the time. So if I'm going to be buying stuff and I'm going to be looking at it, I need it to look good to me, not look good to some guy in a room that is looking at a card under a magnifying glass. That's not that important to me. A lot of the times, the grade differences are, I'll buy a low grade card because I think it's better than a higher grade card. And we're going to take a look here at some of the cards from my collection. I just picked 10. 10 cards from my personal collection. And I'm going to show you the card up against another card with a higher grade. Whether it be SGC, whether it be PSA. And in a lot of cases, I think before you know the grades, I think you might think that my card is better looking. I know for me, personally, I like my card better than the higher grade in all 10 examples. And then what I want to do is I'm going to show you, what did the higher grade card sell for? What did the higher card sell for, grade-wise? And how does that compare to the average sale of cards that grade? Because one of the things a lot of people come back to me when I talk about this topic is they go, well, you're just showing cards that are old grades. That's an old 5. That's not a new 5. So that's the reason that, it doesn't look as nice. But a lot of people buy the grade, not the card. A lot of people. They don't trust their own eyes. They say, that one must be nice because it got a 6. So, gotta be nice. And people will go buy it. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's lack of confidence in your own ability to look at the card. But a lot of people buy the grade, not the card. So if you truly buy the card, not the grade, and you focus on the higher quality copies of low grade cards, you're gonna save yourself a fortune. And as I've said many times, at the end of the day, it's about having the card. What's the point? What is the point of the hobby if we're not going to be owning cards that we like and we want and we long for? If we know that card exists but we can never have it, what's the point? So even if it's a lower grade copy, that's okay. Because guess what? You have a copy. So let's take a look at 10 cards from my collection up against higher grade cards that were graded higher by the same grading company. See which one you like best. See if you're surprised. I want to know, how often out of these 10 did you like my copy more or the higher grade that was determined by a grader? And then after that, we're going to look at the prices that card, the higher grade card, sold for. You're going to be surprised This is not a topic I'm going to let go of because it's something I'm going to encourage all of you to continue to do, which is try really hard to ignore the grade. And if you do notice the grade, which it's hard not to, don't let it change your mind. Trust your eyes, and what you like might be different than what that particular grader likes. Let's check it out. All right, first card up is a 1951 Bowman Monty Irvin rookie card. Now, one of these is mine, and one of these is a higher graded copy. Now, I think both of these cards have a lot going for them. And the question, though, is which is better and which would you rather have, the one on the left or the right? If you look here, now that I've revealed the grades, I have the 3 on the left. The one on the right is a 5. Do you think that's 2 grades better? And would you rather have the one on the left or the right? See, I don't know. Now, here's a better look at my copy. This is the 3. It's got great centering. It obviously doesn't have sharp corners, but the picture clarity is great. The back is clean. I think it's a really nice card, and it's a 3. And in a 3, this card is very affordable. You know, in a 3, it's like a $175 card. Well, you can see right there, the 90-day average of this card in a 3 is $180. The average of this card in a 5 is $354. And the one that we're looking at, the one I just looked at, is $375. So, like 3 times as much is what I bought mine for. And I'd rather have the 3. Personally, I'd rather have the 3. I think it's a better looking card. So, that's a lot of extra money. All right, next up, the 1956 Topps Ted Williams. Now, one of these is mine, and one of these is a higher grade. I think, again, both are very nice cards, my personal opinion. Which would you rather have, left or right? Well, now that we've revealed the grades, the one on the right is a 6. The one on the left, mine, is a 3.5. And I like mine better. I like my 3.5 better than I like my 6. So this is an example of where I'm like, hey, I think I got a tough grade. I mean, look at this card. I've looked it over close. I still haven't found a wrinkle. I still haven't found a crease or a wrinkle. It's a gray back. And the color is incredible. The centering's great. The only issue that someone might complain about is it's got a little bit of a rough cut on the top and the bottom. But personally, honestly, I kind of like that. I don't know why, but I do. So this card in a 6 routinely sells for about $750. But in a 3.5, the average price is $219. So again, over 3 times as much. And the one that we just looked at, the 6 we just looked at, sold for $940. So it's not like it's a low, a low 6. It sold for way above the 6 average. Way above the 6 average. So somebody really liked it for a 6. And I really think my 3.5 is a nicer looking card. And, I mean, okay, next one up. 1953 Topps Bob Feller. Now, again, we've got 2. Both have a lot of positives about them. You know, we've got the color, we've got the centering, we've got the corners. One of these is 2 grades higher. Mine's the one on the right. It's a 1.5. I don't know how. It does not have a crease. It doesn't have a crease. And the one on the left is a 3.5. Does that look 2 grades better than mine? Again, we could take a better look at it here. So here's mine, my 1.5, the one I just showed you a picture of, the one that was on the right. And I mean, it's got, I mean, there's a corner. It's obviously soft. It's got corner wear, but it's really well centered. It has really good color, really good registration. It's a 1.5. I'm totally happy with this card. Now, a 3.5 routinely sells for about $150. That's the 90-day average. And that's what this one sold for. And you can see right there, it sold for $150. I paid $50 for my 1.5. And somebody paid $150 for this 3.5. I'm totally content with my 1.5. Totally content with that card. I think mine is sweet. All right, next up, we've got my T206 Christy Mathewson Dark Cap against another one. They're both the same back. They're both sweet cap backs. Would you rather have the one on the left or the one on the right? Now, again, I think they're both pretty decent cards, personally. I'm obviously biased toward the one that I own, which is the one on the left. The one on the left is a 2. Does that look like a 2? There's a little line, but it's a little tiny scratch. It's not a crease by his cap. The one on the right is a little more off-center. But does that look like a grade and a half better than mine? So here's mine again. It's a 2. And I think I paid about $1,300 for it. And that was about a year ago. So, prices on a lot of things have come down. But here's the back. It's, the back's a little off-center. There's a little issue on there. But, I mean, it's a really nice card for a 2. So again, I paid like $1,300 or so, and that 3.5 sold for $1,876.99, over $500 more than I paid, because it's a 3.5 instead of a 2. But I genuinely think my 2 is better. So why are we buying higher grades just because they're higher grades? All right, next up. 1958 Topps Willie Mays All-Star. Which of these two cards would you rather have? Now, I'll tell you this. Mine's a 5. The other one's an 8. Which of those do you think is an 8, and which one do you think is a 5? Well, the 5 is the one on the right. The one on the right is mine, and it is a gorgeous 5. And the one on the left is an 8. And you say, oh, but that's an old grade, Greg. It's an 8, and they paid 8 prices. You'll see in just a second. So here's my 5. The centering is fantastic. The best part of the card is the color. The color is incredible. Here's the back. I mean, it's such a sweet card. And it's a 5. The other one was 3 grades higher. 3 grades higher. Now, I bought that recently at a show. I forget. I think I paid about $300 for it. But look at the 8. An 8 averages $1,350. This particular 8 sold for $911. And again, I'm pretty sure I paid $300 for mine. Is that card worth 3 times as much as mine? Is it $600 better than mine? I'd rather have mine. This one just has an 8 on it. Next up, 1962 Topps Gaylord Perry. This is a Gaylord Perry rookie card. These are both SGC graded. Mine's a 4. The other one's a 7. Does one of those look 3 grades better than the other? Would you rather have the left or the right? Well, mine's the one on the right. It's a 4. The one on the left is a 7. Now, in a 7, this is like a $300 card. In a 4, it's like a $50 or $60 card. That's crazy. So here's my 4. It's got a little touch on the bottom left-hand corner. But it's really well centered. It's really clear. It's got really good color. It's got a perfectly centered back. I mean, I don't get it. I don't know how it got a 4. But again, this card is worth $50 or $60 in a 4. And the average sale in the last 90 days of a 7 is $276. And you go, yeah, but Greg, this one, that's not the one that you're looking at. The one that we just looked at sold for $329.95. It sold for $330. It sold for $54 above average from the last 90 days. If mine is a $50 card, how is that a $330 card? Mixed in a little bit of football for you guys. You know I like vintage football. Here's a 52 Bowman autogram. Left or right, what's your pick? Again, I think both have things that make them good or bad. This is a third-year autogram card. His rookie is 1950. Well, the one on the left is a 6. The one on the right is a 4. Mine's the 4. Now, in a 4, it's like a $120 card. But if it's in a 6, it's a $300 card. So here's mine. I mean, look it over. Really well centered. Now, the corners, again, they're not sharp, but they're not folded over. It has a touch of wax. You have to keep in mind, Bowman cards at this time came in packs of 1 or packs of 5. 1 cent for 1, 5 cents for 5. So about a third of them have wax on them. That's normal. But other than the wax, I mean, isn't that a really nice 4? Again, I paid just over $100 for it. But when we look at the average of a 6, the average of a 6 is a little over $300. Now, this one was a buy it now, and I believe it ended up going for $275 when I looked it up. So it went for just below the average. But just because it's a 6 doesn't mean it's worth more than the other one. If these two cards were ungraded side by side at a dealer's table, I think most people would have taken mine. All right, 1950 Bowman Larry Doby. Now, again, I really like this card. Same pose as the 51 Bowman. Left or right, what would you take? And mine's the one on the left. It's a 2. The one on the right is a 3. It's a full grade higher. Now, I think these cards are very comparable. I think the color on mine is better. I think the centering's a little bit better. But they're not dramatically different. Has a very slight wrinkle up by his cap. But other than that, it's a beautiful card with the super clean back. The little wrinkle by his cap doesn't even go through. It's just a surface wrinkle. But it's a 2. Now, because it's a 2, it's like, $150 card. Versus if it was the 3, it's $175 to $200. You can see the last one sold for $255. In fact, this is the last one. That one that mine was up against, the 3 there, sold for $255. Whereas mine's only worth $150. And again, I personally think mine is better. Now, I'm not getting up here just to flex and say I think all my cards are great. That's not the point. All right, we got left or right, and last football card in the stretch, 9th card overall, 1958 Bart Starr. So this is a second-year Bart Starr card. Which would you rather have, left or right? The one on the left is an 8. Mine's a 5.5. I mean, that's a really nice 5.5.
And the 8, I mean, the 8 is nice, but is it really 2.5 grades higher, better than mine? I mean, let's look at mine. Now, I bought this, I believe it was $150. In fact, I pulled it up for you on the next screen. And 8s, however, they go for right around $400. So my 5.5, which I think is a gorgeous card, for $150 versus around $400 for the 8. I mean, I paid over comps even for mine. So that one that we just looked at up against mine sold for $380, and it was in an auction. So the 8 sold for $380. My 5.5, as you'll see here in a second, sold for $150, which is a little above comps. But it was just such a nice 5.5. I thought it was worth it. Because, again, I'm buying the card. And the card here, to me, is better than a 5.5. In fact, my 5.5, I think, is better than that 8. All right, a 51 Bowman Warren Spawn is the last one. These are both SGC graded. So let's take a look, and you tell me, which one would you rather have, left or right? I think these are pretty comparable. There's not a dramatic difference between the two. The one on the right is a 5. Mine is the 3.5 on the left. Now, in this one, I would probably argue I'd rather have the 5. I think the 5 is a little bit better than mine. But I don't know if it's a grade and a half better than mine. I mean, is that really a grade and a half better? So let's look at my 3.5. I bought this card ungraded, sent it into SGC, and they go, well, Greg, if the grade doesn't matter, why'd you get it graded? Well, that's a whole different video and a different story for a different day. It does have a little wax, you can see there. But, you know, authentication, making sure it wasn't tampered. But also it makes a card more liquid. It protects it. If it's more liquid, if I were ever to sell it, now it's ready to sell. There are some benefits to grading, even if the grades don't really matter to you. So, again, on the right, a 3.5, the average sale is $139. On the left, the 5, the average sale is $200. And you go, it's only $60. Well, $60, but it's like, you know, 40% more. And this one here sold for $179. This 5 sold for $179. So, how many did you get right? What did you think of that? Give me your thoughts. I'm curious.
I can hear the arguments already. Greg, but when you put the cards up side by side, I can't really see the card. Because it's just a picture. Greg, when you put the cards up side by side, I didn't get to see the back. So how am I supposed to evaluate which one is better when I can't see the back? Greg, when you put those cards up side by side, some of the times one of the cards was kind of blurry. So how am I supposed to know how nice it is? But guys, that's all the information we're getting when we're buying some of these cards. Some people buy blurry pictures. Some people buy cards without pictures of the back because they're so convinced that the grade is the answer. But the grade is not the answer. The grade is an opinion. It is not the opinion. Trust your instincts. Trust your gut. Trust your own eyes. I buy cards all the time that I think are much nicer than higher graded copies. That's just 10 examples of it. Buy the card, not the grade. Forget about the grade. Take the grade for a range in which the card might fall, and that it's authenticated, and that it's likely not altered. And then move on.